Yes, it's my bedroom, Naruhodo-san, as you well know. Shall I help you unpack your things? No. After all, a room houses a maiden's deepest, darkest secrets, or whatever it is she says. That's very kind, but no thank you. Oh. Yes! That's exactly what I was talking about. I was waiting for her to say it. A young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know? Okay, Suzuto. Okay, I gotcha. Ooh, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am the story-driven gamer, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are hopping back into the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. So in the last episode we started the investigation of, what's his face? Shamspear. So, interesting name. Which, it makes sense now that I think about it, because I even commented, they quoted Shakespeare. And so, you know, obviously Shamspear, this guy's like a wannabe, like a sham, a wannabe, I guess, Shakespeare. So the name makes sense. But anywho, we got to do one of those, deduction extravaganzas, I keep forgetting what they're called. Logic and reasoning spectaculars or something like that. And yeah, it went well, it was a pretty easy one. We deduced that Natsume was indeed present with, Shamspear when he died. Or I should say, quote-unquote died. Because, you know, we deduced that he was there having tea, drinking tea with him. But then, as we were talking, we saw Shamspear get up, give us a little soliloquy, and then he passed out again. So, he was brought to the hospital. Apparently, he's still alive. That would imply. But, yeah. So, not only is this the second crime that Natsume is you know, accused of committing, but it's also the second one where the perpetrator didn't actually die. Miss Green lived and this guy lived, so that's quite interesting. But yeah, and then after that we just came out here, we spotted the old guy that I believe I remember from the first game looking in through the window, and then he ran away when we spotted him. That's really it, I think. That's like the bulk of it. Now we have a few places we have to go. Yeah, the Garadev's room, because I believe Mr. Garadev found the body, or was one of the people to find the body, and then the prison to talk to Natsume. But first, I already explored Briar Road at the end of last episode, so, and yeah, we can't go back to Shamspear's room, so, I want to go visit these three rooms once more. I might just start, let's just go down the list here, just because I want to, we haven't actually visited any of these rooms. Well, with the exception of Miss Green's room. We haven't visited Sholmes' suite and the you know, the upstairs office in this flashback, so I want to do that. Plus, you know, that way I can read Iris's blackboard for the trophy, and there's a spade, I think, in the office for that trophy as well. So let's start up here. 21st of February, Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. Wait a minute, why does it seem so empty? What's going on? Where's my office? Where's my desk? I know Suzuto's might be leaving, but what? I'm trying to think when this took place. Do we not have our office set up yet? Yeah, now that I think, maybe we don't. Maybe that's why it's so empty up here. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know how much longer is left in this chapter. Hopefully there's a decent amount for an episode before we hit the first to be continued, otherwise I'll keep going for a little bit. Okay, is there anything to talk to you about up here? Or just what to do? What should we do, Suzuto? I have no idea. Suzuki-san is so terribly unlucky, isn't he? That's one way to put it. You can say that again. Suspected of 2 different murders in 2 days. I've never known anybody to be so badly in the wrong place at the wrong time so many times. Yeah. One of a kind. I have. And I'm looking at him right now. Yeah, fair point. That's right. I was accused in the first case, right? I was the defendant, and then I was accused in the second case of killing Kazuma. That's a very good point. That just completely flew over my head. You know, I hadn't really considered it much before, but I think you might be right. Yeah, me and Ryunosuke were on the same page. We just overlooked that little snag.
I've been quite unlucky in that respect, haven't I? Am I cursed? Oh no, Naruhodo-san. I'm sure you're overthinking it. Okay then, let's examine the place. Check the spade out. Perhaps we should put the spade away somewhere. That's not a spade, Naruhodo-san. It's a shovel, you idiot. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade, Suzuto. Trust me, I know. I'm an expert on spade lore and shovel lore. So spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel! Oh, she's gonna kill me. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Yes, it does! Stop changing the subject, Naruhodo! You're so right, Naruhodo-san. We mustn't quarrel over such trifles. Especially when I'm right. On reflection, then, I think I'll leave the spade where it is. Yes, I think that's for the best. We may need a shovel when we're working in the garden. Teehee. Okay. Let's take this outside, Suzuto. There's not a lot to examine. It's all been put away, or not been set up yet. Thankfully, this spade was here. Okay. I guess I should weigh in on the debate, shouldn't I? I would say this is a spade. I mean, just looking at it. I think, Vianosuke is right. Shovel usually has more of like a curved, it's usually also a bit more square. I mean, I guess it depends. Maybe if you're thinking of like a snow shovel, obviously those have a very unique look to it. Yeah, this looks like a spade to me. Also the handle. Yeah, I'm going with a spade. You guys are like, I couldn't care less. Thanks for thanks for going on that diatribe. Okay. Okay, we just have this tank and the door. These tanks are for keeping sea creatures. They're called aquariums, and they were all the rage in London at one time, apparently. Yes. The English are so clever, coming up with the idea of having ocean life on display in the home. And it means you always have an emergency midnight feast on hand, too. Yum. Why do you have to say that? I'm not sure that's really the idea. Might be, Suzuto, might be. And this was your room. Or is going to be your room? Yeah, see? I heard that there's another room behind that door. Yes. It's my bedroom, Naruhodo-san, as you well know. Shall I help you unpack your things? No. After all, a room houses a maiden's deepest, darkest secrets, or whatever it is she says. That's very kind, but no thank you. Your luggage looked very heavy. Are you sure I can't help you move it? That's very kind, but really, no thank you. I have my underwear hanging in there. Oh. Yes! That's exactly what I was talking about. I was waiting for her to say it. A young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know. Okay, Suzuto. Okay, I gotcha. The only secret I have is the 5 yen banknote hidden on the backside of my Daruma doll. That's what it is. Bittersweet secrets. I don't know why that tickles me. I like that. Okay, I think that's it, really. The spade and the door. Yeah. Okay, let's head downstairs. Have I shown you... Actually, I don't know. Should I try showing her any of this stuff? Nah, I doubt it. I'll show her this, though. See if she responds to it. You've been wearing that ever since we arrived in Great Britain, haven't you? Well, it's what shows that I'm a lawyer, so it seems appropriate. I'm not sure that it really means much in this country, though, I'm afraid. I wouldn't say that. It might not be official, but it looks official. Often when the police stop me, I just show them this and they leave me alone. Ah, nice. Nice trick. You're stopped by the police? Often? You degenerate? Well, you know, I'm a suspicious foreigner dressed all in black with a sword at my side. Fair point. I do think it's probably the sword that's the main reason. Is England an open carry state? Still, it makes me happy to see you wearing it. And the armband. Or country, rather. I don't know why I said state. Yes, I made up my mind that I'll carry them always. The symbol of who I am, and the sword, Karama. Okay. Let us head on downstairs.
I'll revisit Miss Green again as well. Just because there's still that trophy about examining a bottle or something or a cup before it falls. 21st of February, Sholmes is sweet. Okay, I can't even talk to Suzuto down here. Okay, well, let's get looking. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. Although, I do yearn for a Japanese kotatsu. Putting your legs under a warm blanketed table is so comforting. Do be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't mistakenly put your feet into the fire, will you? Yeah, probably not a good idea. I've never used a kotatsu. I always wondered how that would feel, how comfy it is. I mean, it seems like you just put your... It's just a table that you put your legs under and it warms them up. I mean, I'm sure, like, maybe something similar to, like, a heated blanket type of thing, but I don't know. It would have been cool. It would be cool to try one. You'd suffer terrible burns, you know. Don't do it! Thank you, Captain Obvious. Just kidding. I love you, Suzuto. I worry sometimes about how Suzuto-san sees me. She thinks I'm a idiot. On par with, Sholmes. Okay, can we open this? Iris isn't here to stop us. It's curious how this enormous metal chest is being used as a coffee table. And even more curious to think that Iris's father's notes about Sholmes' cases are inside it. Oh! Hello. You mustn't look in there, Runo. Those notes are a secret between Daddy and me. I didn't know you were here. I guess I should have realized. And Mr. Sholmes isn't somehow on the secret? Hurley tends to forget, you see. As soon as he's solved in a case, in fact. Once when he read one of my manuscripts, we had a terrible argument about it. Never have I solved such a case, he said. He was absolutely adamant. Sometimes I wonder if he's from another planet, don't you? Yes. No, I just wonder if he's had, you know, severe brain damage sometimes. Let's go over here. I see the violin there. There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high, I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment. It looks as though it might topple, and yet it doesn't. The epitome of Mr. Sholmes' brilliance. I don't get it. I wouldn't call it brilliance per se. As it happens, I'm quite well practiced when it comes to stacking shelves myself. I'm an expert at stacking them haphazardly. Just the other day, the shelf in my office finally gave way under the strain, though. It looks as though it might topple, and it does. Yes, the epitome of your disarray. I really don't get it. Stop making fun of me. Okay? This is Mr. Sholmes' famous violin. The one he found being sold for a song at a pawnbrokery. What's it called again? Shoddy something? Let me see if I can remember. Stradivarius? Was that what it's called? Oh yes, this wonderful instrument features in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. It's a world-famous Stradivarius. Yeah, I think that's what I said. I think that's what I said, right? What? Strata who now? Stradivarius, Mr. Naruhodo. It's not that hard. Stragivore, Stragosaurus. Are you even trying now? No. We'll come back to this another time, I think. If they wanted me to pronounce it correctly, they should have, I don't know, just called it Larry or something. This enormous machine takes up the entire desk, doesn't it? It's really very imposing. Ah, Hurley's great analytoscope, yes. It can analyze anything at all, you know. But I've never seen anyone actually using it. Well, it's his invention, so I don't know how to operate it. Why don't you get it to analyze its own operation, then? Oh, Runo, you're really sharp today, aren't you? That's right, we talked last time about getting a analytoscope to analyze the analytoscope. Okay, I think that's it here. First things first, there she is. Hi, Iris. Look at her typing away. Do. Look at me. Okay, let's check the board. Oh yes, this is where you note down ideas, isn't it, Iris? So, what's on the blackboard today? Is she gonna disappear if she starts talking? Like, and appear in front of me? Fuck up, Runo. What is this? There she is. Oh, I'm just playing around with ideas for the title of next month's installment. What does that have to do with me? Another idea I had was the barrel coronet. I'm really torn about which one to use.
What do you think, Runo?
Anything but Buckaruno, obviously.
I suppose you're right. I tell you what, I'll surprise you with it. You'll have to wait until next month and see.
Ugh, so many sleepless nights. I'll be waiting. Check medicine. That's a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles, too.
Oh yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode. Like boom.
Ah, charming shelf full of charming bottles. Full of charring ingredients. That Sholmes can knock over at any moment.
You know, Hurley mistakenly drank from one of them the other day.
What? Why does that not surprise me? And how?
I think he was lucky, though. He hasn't exploded yet. I'm just counting down the days. Chemistry can be a very hazardous occupation.
It's living with Mr. Sholmes that's the hazardous occupation, if you ask me. Yeah, he's a bit of a nut job. It always strikes me how pretty and neatly arranged this tea set is.
It's my favorite one. In fact, I think it's high time for an afternoon tea. Wait there. I'll fetch the special blend that I've prepared for today.
Oh, Iris, you do love your tea, don't you? She looks so happy at the prospect.
And after you've drunk it, I'll collect some experimental data, if that's alright.
What do you mean by that? Just what is she about to make me drink?
It'll be our little secret. Wink, wink.
Okay. If I remember correctly, this large and imposing lump of iron is called a typewriter? To think that every single one of the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes blossomed from this very machine.
It's such a dreamy thought. I got tears in my eyes just thinking about it.
I actually had a go on it the other day. I tried playing this thing called a text adventure. Didn't work very well. The metal bars that move when you hit the keys got all tangled up somehow, and that made Iris angry.
Mr. Naruhodo, you dingus. You're ruining my dreamy thoughts. Stop it. Please don't do that again, or you will unleash my wrath.
Now I've made Suzero-san angry as well. My bad. Okay. We are gonna talk to Iris. Okay, I think that's it. I already did the board. Oh wait, what's this stuff? Oh yeah, I didn't do this table. Look at all these mementos of Mr. Sholmes' past cases. You know, Miss Suzuro's eyes still sparkle every time she lays eyes on them.
But yours don't, do they, Runo?
Well, I have read The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes now, by order of Miss Suzuro. But the trouble is, having seen the real thing in action, some of the stories don't quite ring true for me. The books make him seem like he's actually, like, smart and stuff.
Well, he does solve the cases in the end.
I suppose so. Perhaps there's more to the great detective than meets the eye. But probably not. Okay. Let's talk to Iris. Iris?
I'm busy, Runo. Shut the F up.
That's incredible concentration, that is.
I find it quite remarkable how she can focus on so many different things at once.
Perhaps I should try drinking more herbal tea. That might help.
The blend third from the right would be good for you, Runo.
Oh, Iris? This girl is destined for great things, I'm sure. I was gonna say we're praising her for her concentration, but like literally everything I examine, she just hops off her seat and is like, oh, let me jump in on the conversation here. Okay. Bye, Iris. I think that's it. So I'm just gonna take a quick stop. Yeah, quick stop to Mrs. Green's room. Nope, she's not even here anymore. Okay, yeah, it looks like everything is... I need to make sure there's no additional bottle. I don't know, maybe we go to a house or something, or maybe the bottle will appear later. Because that trophy is for the entire, whatchamacallit, you know, the entire episode. Let's move on. I guess we can go, let's go to the Garadebs, and we'll save the prison for last. Let's go talk to old Mr. Garadeb. 21st of February, the Garadeb's room.
Here we are again. The eccentric landlord's eccentric top floor abode. We're here because Mr. Garrett is the one who discovered the incident this morning, don't forget. I kind of find it funny that did nobody check for a pulse when they found what's his face, Sham Spear? I think that would have shown that he was alive, but what do I know?
Ah, you chaps, eh?
Yes. Good morning, sir.
Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday.
That's right. I know they keep saying it, but I keep forgetting it was just yesterday because it feels like it's been like what? I don't know, how long has it been since I finished the last game? Like a year? I don't even know. Probably not a year, but it was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Garrett as anyone, really.
Came straight back here after all that business at the Bailey yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more bally nonsense this morning. Shows what I knew.
I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garrett.
Yes, I suppose you'd like to know all about that dead loss of an actor chap on the ground floor room?
Sure. Those were exactly Inspector Gregson's words, weren't they? I don't remember, I'll take your word for it. Oh, he's getting up. He means business. Okay, should we have a look around before I talk to him? Good to see Mr. Garrett's Medal of Honor still proudly displayed on the wall. The inscription reads, "For distinguished participation," if you remember. Yes, I remember. Because I remember thinking even I might stand a chance of picking up honors like that.
Ah, yeah, right. Wouldn't know it to look at me now, perhaps, but I had my devil-may-care days, you know?
Devil-may-care? What did you get up to?
Arson, Grand Theft Auto, you know. Well, all in the past now, of course, and best left there. Haha.
Best not. I want to know now.
Jerk.
You look very dashing in your uniform there, Mr. Garrett.
Are you hitting on me, son? Ah, that old portrait, eh? Drawn by an art student who used to rent the room downstairs.
Oh, you look so wonderfully young and courageous. And strong. I guess I was trying to examine the lion, but I guess I examined that portrait behind the lion.
Yes, well, the chap presented to me one day, asked if I'd let him off the month's rent in return.
Oh, I see. So, you did, presumably?
Nonsense. I bully well did not.
Oh. Okay.
A portrait is a portrait, but rent is rent. Eh?
And yet still there proudly on the wall. We know what that screen is hiding now. What was behind there, like a bookshelf or something that caught fire when Mr. and Mrs. Garrett were having their little tussle, whatever it was? The aftermath of the fiery altercation the other day.
Humph. Don't suppose I'll be able to clear that mess up for some time now?
Oh dear. This must be a very difficult situation for you.
I'll say. People talk about twists of fate and whatnot. But this is a twist and a half, a rotten show all around.
He's clearly struggling with everything that's happened. I would be. I don't blame the guy. Oh yeah, these... What are these? I forget. Mortar shells. Ah yes, those enormous mortar shells. It's quite something seeing them up close, isn't it? He still has the cannon there. Didn't you say something about firing them into the barracks, Mr. Garrett?
Oh, you remember, do you? Just a little mishap that occurred during training one day. Nothing to be concerned about. What are you doing firing on your own men? The captain bellowed at me.
I'm not surprised. A little mishap doesn't really do it justice, does it?
Well, one has these little incidents when one's a hot-headed young private.
Perhaps I should put some evidence that resulted from one of my little mishaps on display. Oh, does the great lawyer, like the great detective, want to exhibit some trophies of his finest moments? We should have a shelf. If this is uniform. That's your military uniform, isn't it, Mr. Garrett?
Well, ceremonial garb, yes. Been hanging on the wall ever since my retirement bash. Not in active service now, you know. Doesn't mean much to me anymore. You could have the old thing if you wanted it.
Well, it might suit Lord Van Zykes, perhaps. I could see it. An overly ostentatious outfit like this could be just what he needs. Very tactful, Miss Suzuto. Very tactful indeed. I mean, he already has a very cool outfit, so... There's a single apron drawing on that enormous cannon-shaped clothes horse look. No, Mr. Naruhodo, that's a real cannon. I knew that. I was just testing you. You fell for it.
Piece of history, that is. Seen plenty of action in the battlefield, I can tell you. Now the old girl and I are just enjoying the peace and quiet of retirement together. And of course, she'd come in handy if the enemy decided to launch an attack again. I'd be prepared.
Is there a war going on that I don't know about? Got some books here. Oh, a copy of Rant's magazine. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is being read all over London. Isn't it wonderful?
Sure. Naturally, one asks oneself if such a singular detective could really exist. But having met the chap, it's undeniable. He is most certainly singular. Singularly dangerous.
Yeah. That's genuine public opinion for you, Miss Suzuto. Wait, that's me. That's genuine public opinion for you, Miss Suzuto. Perhaps it should be reflected in the stories. Make no mistake, Mr. Naruhodo. I intend to snuff out the sort of public opinion we just heard personally. Fake news! I'm starting to see where Mr. Sholmes' untainted reputation comes from now. I will preach the gospel of Sherlock Holmes. Here's a window, not boarded up. There's a good view over the wintry East End from up here. It's an impressively gray scene. There's really nothing comparable in Japan. And down below, Briar Road, partly blanketed in snow. And the pavement where poor Miss Green was struck in the back by that knife. That's right. It fell from the window or whatever, or was thrown out, or something. Thinking about it, this is the only room in this building that actually has a window to the outside world. Sometimes Great Britain really does seem like a strange land, doesn't it? I suppose all foreign cultures seem strange at first. Imagine how an Englishman would feel on arriving in Japan and seeing people with Sean-Marge top-knot. Still don't know if I'm saying that right. Obviously I'm not cultured enough. Well, that's a good point. Yep, culture shock. Oh, this was broken in the fight. I remember this shelf. These shelves look like they've been completely torn apart by a wild beast.
Huh. Reminds me of the Battle of Maiwan, don't you know?
The experiences of a seasoned veteran.
Enemy had us surrounded on all sides. We really thought we were done for, the whole Borley company. We were taking a real pounding from their cannons, so all we could do was run for our lives.
Yep, he looks worn out. Oh, I thought that story was going in a different direction, actually.
Well, the whole experience taught me one thing. I can tell you. When you're done for, you're really done for.
Ugh. That's not what a lawyer who often finds himself under fire wants to hear.
Well, get used to it.
Okay, the table. That's an impressive collection of cakes on that fancy silver cake stand there. I feel sure that it was full of cakes when we first investigated in here as well.
Yes, quite right. Haven't touched it since. The missus isn't here to clean it up, and we all know that's women's work. I mean, what? Haven't done much at all, really, since it all happened. Time's rather stood still for me, you know?
Understandable. Oh. Time has stood still? That's an interesting phrase. I might be able to use that excuse when I'm next supposed to be tidying the office. Yeah, let's go with that. You could just tidy up, Mr. Naruhodo. Nope, too late. I already have a plan. Okay, I think that's it. I don't know if I should show him some evidence. I'll show him this. Wrong button. Mr. Garudev, could I show you this?
Been quite a couple of days, as you can imagine. I'm afraid I'm rather tired. Shove off. Haven't really got the energy in the old eyes, to be honest with you.
Some other time then. Some other place. Okay. I don't know if I should bother with all of this, but... Okay, I just went through all the evidence. He had nothing to say about any of it, so... Let's just talk to him. Let's just talk about Mr. Shamsphere generally first. The victim's name is Mr. Shamsphere, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, William Shamsphere. Took the ground floor room 3 months ago now.
And how would you describe him?
Well, I would say he's a Shakespeare ripoff. In a word, destitute.
Destitute?
Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or has a bally screw loose.
So hard to choose which category Suzuki-san would fall into. He's a little of both. Mr. Naruhodo, that's a little rude, don't you think? How rude?
He was doing research as well.
Research? Into what?
Ah, Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare. Read a few plays of the old bard myself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that.
Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated. Oh, that's cool. He goes by a completely different name for some reason. It seems incredible that Shakespeare was so into Sao, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There were a lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there? Of course, Mr. Natsume is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shamsphere would have had much in common. Shakespeare and interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that. Mr. Naruhodo, what are you thinking about? Really, how rude! As Stephanie Tanner would say. I wonder if that's true, though. If there's anybody Japanese watching this, is that true that he goes by Sao? If I'm even pronouncing that right, S-A-O. I mean, it makes sense. Like, I can think of like anime and stuff, or visual novels or whatever, where Japanese names are shortened because, you know, us stupid Americans, I guess, wouldn't be able to pronounce it. This morning's incident. Let's go there. Must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what had happened.
Ah, well, that hopeless actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went down and knocked on his door, but no bally answer.
And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door. Okay, I wasn't sure if we established that, but that's why. So he's the one who broke the door. Oh no, that's right. That's right. We established obviously he can't because of his bum leg. It was Natsume who broke it down.
Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course.
Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have been just overslept by half an hour. That's very true, Mr. Naruhodo. If 30 minutes oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning, you lazy bones.
Well, you know, better to be safe than sorry and all that.
He's sweating. Is it just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden? Maybe he had a reason, maybe he had another reason. Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door. Indeed. Now let's talk about yesterday's events. After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning?
Well, now, must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember, and it was completely dark already. That failed actor chap was out at the time.
Mr. Garrett have noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose. Although, would he have been able to? Because well, maybe from the inside you'd be able to. But, if he was talking about if he was outside, you couldn't, because the window is barred.
Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so I just sat in front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shamsphere got back. And the chap was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there.
Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. Oh, that it? Is everything alright, Miss Suzuto? Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garrett, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly. So yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Or I was saying, so how do you know that Shamsphere wasn't home? Or when he came back?
Not a big fan of stairs, not with this blasted leg.
Then, how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean.
Ah! Shoot.
Look at his face. That's a very good point. I can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it? Yeah, he's losing it a bit.
I say, I know what you're thinking, and it's a bully outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants. Why would I?
I don't know. Then how did you know, Mr. Garrett?
It's the gas, woman. The gas tells me everything.
The gas? I guess you're talking about the meter. Speaking gas.
He let out a really big fart. And I heard it from all the way up here, if that's what you're wondering.
What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything?
Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes.
Yes, I'd more or less worked that out. Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main. Yeah, the gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to properties via the main. Yes, I understand that too, Suzuto.
Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen?
Well, obviously the room would get brighter. That would make sense.
Exactly. But at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment.
What? They dim? Why? Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual. And that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it? Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe. Makes sense to me. If that's supposed to happen, though, it sounds rather undesirable.
Jolly good point. Fact is, the gas's company pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless. Long worn out. And barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. Extinguish the lamps up here, and they glow brighter in the rest of the house.
Ah, right, I see. So by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere.
You've got it. Well done.
Oh, of course. Because when people come back home in the evening, and before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires. Haha! Got it. Clever.
In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. By watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house.
Strange. Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Garrett. Absolutely fascinating.
Oh, well, nothing to it, really.
I can't really see that it's going to help us with the case either. But I'd like to know is why Mr. Garrett is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity. Well, we've done as much investigating here as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again. A good idea, Mr. Naruhodo-san. Okay, that is it. Ta-ta for now. Let us head over to the prison. Ah, poor Natsume. He's just been staring at the wall ever since he got in here. 21st of February, local prison cell 9. Look, Mr. Naruhodo! Hello there! Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now?
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire?
Oh, yes?
What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me?
Let me guess. You're talking about Mr. Sholmes? He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume. Not a ghost.
But his diabolic deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me. Ah! Cursed! I'm cursed, I tell you!
Well, that sort of hurts. Poor guy. Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too. Yes, moving on. We have some wonderful news.
Oh?
The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again. Isn't that wonderful? You didn't kill him. Congratulations. Now, in the absolutely worst case, you could only be tried for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume?
It's terrible!
Oh dear.
I'm stuck in the cell suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. Again. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions!
I'm sorry to hear that. Really, I am.
Oh, that selfish shyster! Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Wickedly wishy-washy William. What a sham, Spear.
Well... Alright, that's me. Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspear was never actually dead in the first place, so...
Oh yes, that might make sense. And I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Kinda. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last.
Oh.
Oops. Maybe.
Okay, so they were debating something. Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspear, didn't you?
I'm not saying another word. I demand to have a lawyer present.
I am that lawyer. Who do you think I am? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story.
Oh, that's right. Ugh. Why am I cursed like this?
Okay. Yeah, we can't examine anything in here. But, would you like to see my armband? I keep pressing the wrong button. Triangle. Have I shown you this before, Mr. Natsume? It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Oh yes, the sweet, sweet aroma of our beloved homeland.
It shows that the wearer is a defense lawyer. It means nothing in Great Britain, of course, but I still wear it.
Oh, I know exactly how you feel, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Mr. Haramaki Bellyband. I don't feel right without it.
Your Haramaki Bellyband?
It's perfect for the cold English winters. Just the thing to keep my tummy warm.
Yes, I see the link. Almost. Mr. Natsume, about this receipt.
It occurs to me now. It was those confounded books that saw me arrested the first time too.
Oh, that's right. See, these are little details I forgot about. Oh yes, I suppose that's true. After I spend my precious pennies on them... Oh, sorry.
After I spend my precious pennies on them, that's the thanks I get? Now I don't know when I'll read them. No, not when. If! I may very well hate them too much to even open their covers.
Can you imagine? Every time you just look at them, you're just reminded of 2 times that you were almost accused of murder. Well, I mean, he technically was accused of murder. He was almost charged for murder. I don't know that we can blame the books for everything that's happened, Mr. Natsume. Okay, what about the map? Mr. Natsume, it's nothing much, but...
Ah, it's been too long since I've been offered a present with that delightfully humble etiquette of our homeland.
What?
You're too kind, I accept it gladly.
Sorry, but I wasn't trying to give it to you, actually. Okay, let's see if he has anything to say about these pieces of evidence. Mr. Sorry, Mr. Natsume, what do you know about this?
There it is! That lathery lowlife that took my neighbor's life and sent me sliding to the depths of despair. Slippery, sickly, psychotic saboteur!
I don't think it had anything to do with the soap. Well, at least the poisoning didn't. You've really gone off soap, haven't you?
Absolutely, and I've made up my mind. I'm never going to bathe again. The next time someone gives me soap as a present, it's... friendship finished firmly forever!
Okay, calm down. It's not that big a deal. I don't know that we can blame soap for everything that's happened, Mr. Natsume. Stop blaming inanimate objects. Okay, that's that. So let's just talk to him. Let's talk about your cursed existence, shall we? Mr. Natsume, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence.
I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but... I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time I've learned that it's no place for me.
It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture.
There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me. They all laugh. That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember.
Yeah, my voice is going.
And then 1 week ago I moved into Briar Road.
But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable.
Figured. Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money it spoke to me.
The rent?
Obviously there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed.
Cursed? Cursed how?
The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there.
Oh gosh. Oh no!
He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead and no one could explain why.
Surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that. Except in horror movies where they're delighted to move into places like that.
I didn't. And the letting agent recommended the place. I wavered. But I want books, and books cost money. A horrible history is a small price to pay. When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning.
Brave or blinkered.
But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was.
Gosh, was it really so awful? I guess it was. Talk about the horrible history. How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened?
At first, it was just a feeling. The feeling of beady eyes boring into my back watching me.
Do you think that might just have been your mind playing tricks on you?
No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I given the keys to the place.
A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean?
All the souls who've died in that room lean over me in my sleep and try to strangle me.
Oh gosh. That really is horrible, and you stayed there?
And now I came to think of it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shamspeare was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room.
You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible. Okay, now they got me curious, because during the introduction to the case, we did see that image of somebody being strangled, so I wonder if somebody actually was trying to strangle him in that case.
Yes, you're right, I know it, and that's why. I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home.
I think perhaps you should try to avoid a combination with any kind of history at all. Probably a good idea. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history. Why don't you build a shack in the woods? That's much safer. Phew! Suzuto-san knows how to make the man listen. Okay, back to this. What happened? Can you tell us exactly what happened last night then, Mr. Natsume?
There's nothing...
Oh my gosh, my voice!
There's nothing to tell. But, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that accursed case yesterday.
Case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back? Poor lady. It's hard to believe that was only yesterday. Doesn't feel like yesterday to me.
After the trial was over, I trudged my way back to my lowly lodgings. And that evening at past 9 it must have been, I visited Mr. Shamspear.
So you did go to the victim's room then? As we feared.
I didn't do anything wrong. I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time.
Then, what made you decide to go? Good question.
I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell.
That ties in with what Mr. Garrett said, that the victim went out and came back after 8.
We met again later that evening at around 9 or just after, and when I took him some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift.
So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then. That doesn't look good for you, I have to say. And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you?
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet. Who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate.
I'm sure.
Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare.
That's true. He's an author, and Shamspear was an actor, so they'd be able to both bond with that subject matter. And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison into Mr. Shamspear's tea. Is that correct?
No, never. Not at all. Team Juliet won. That was me. And when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was fighting fit. I swear it. Categorically.
Okay, I believe you.
Of course, Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well.
You mean Mr. Garrett?
Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again.
Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place. Same. I'm not even superstitious. Perhaps that may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements. You mean because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. There must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his let rooms.
What do you mean he pays so much attention to the gas lamps?
Oh dear, no. It's nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please, forget I said anything. Forget Beam.
Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. Do what you like.
What's important is that Mr. Shamspear isn't in fact dead at all. Once he's come round, he's able to tell us what happened. We'll be able to get you released.
Yes, please. Oh, I do hope you're right. I'm sure it'll be that easy.
Excuse me. I thought it was you. Inspector Gregson.
I couldn't help overhearing what you just said. And on that note, I have some good news and some bad news.
Oh.
Which would you like to hear first? Which do you want first?
Always, every time the bad news comes first. When hope is all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle.
Right, well, in that case, the good news it is then. Ha! Gotcha! Gotcha, nerd! Huh? Sorry, but it's a lot easier to explain everything that way.
Then why did you ask my preference, you idiot?
As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shamspear, was just unconscious. He's come around now.
Yes, we saw it happen in all its terrifying glory.
He's still being treated by the doctors, but we've managed to get a written statement from him already.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume?
Oh, thank goodness. It's all over then. I can leave the somber cell.
No. Sorry, no. That's not on the cards.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're the one who brought the tea down to him, he would think that you poisoned him, right? Yeah, so somebody must have slipped the poison in the tea when sometime between Mr. Natsume, poured it and brought it over to him. What? Why have I not, Inspector?
Mr. Shamsphere has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night.
And I'm assuming it's you. Implicated someone. Oh dear! Whoever could it be? You don't mean...
I'm sorry to say I do, yes. He's pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsume.
Arg! Uh-oh.
Why sweet poison did you seek us to end my life? That rickets, caitiff, Suzuki Natsume.
No! Damn it all!
So I'm afraid it'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations?
Ugh. No! Sucks to be you. And so, once again, Suzuki-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court, and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. Is that it? To be continued. Okay, so that completes the first part of the second case. So things are heating up. We just kind of did a little bit of exploring, got to talk to Mr. Garadev, and Natsume, of course, just to kind of get a better understanding of, what's going on. And yeah, so what's his face is awake, Shamsphere, and yep, he's implicated Natsume. That's not good. The guy that you poisoned is like, yep, he did it. Not good. But like I said, it makes sense because Natsume was like, oh, once he's awaking, tell him I didn't do it. But like we said, we know that there's a good chance that it was the cup that poisoned him, and Natsume is the one who made the tea. But yeah, in the next episode, I'm assuming we're jumping into the trial. Like I said, I'm not 100% positive, but I'm fairly certain that what's his face? Van Zykes is going to be the prosecutor still. I mean, they've been talking about him. They've referenced him every now and then. So, and there's definitely bits of his story that we haven't learned yet. So yeah, I'm sure he's probably going to be the prosecutor of this game, which I'm totally fine with because I really like him. Even though this is technically a new game, they usually have a new prosecutor mainly each game. But yeah, no, especially with two games that seem to be so intricately tied together, it only makes sense that we get more Van Zykes, and I'm sure we'll learn more about him and stuff. So I'm excited for the first, I guess, quote-unquote, real court case of the game. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when more videos go up, and of course, share the video with all your friends, family, and loved ones. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time. So take care, and bye-bye.